All right, you want to lose 30 pounds in 90 days? Yeah, I bet. Who doesn't? You want to do it and you want it to be extremely easy. Of course. I can do this, I can make this happen, I can even show you, but the reality is, you know you, and I have a feeling I know you too. But anyway, welcome to Walk Talk Vent. Let's do this.
Hi guys, welcome back. Now we're going to check out a YouTuber named Sherry Lorena, and she's going to describe how she lost an amazing amount of weight when she decided to add walking to her repertoire. So I'm going to be quiet. Let's listen to her story because I think you'll find it very interesting.
Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Sherry Lorena and I have lost 60 pounds naturally. So today I want to talk about exercise and what exercise I did specifically to help me lose 60 pounds. So I want to go into a little backstory of my weight loss. So one, I have a very sedentary job. I sit for 10 hours a day and I didn't do much. And I have had this same job for, how long have I had this job? 12 years now. So I've slowly gained weight due to the sedentary life of my job, due to the fact that I had kids, I stopped exercising as much, and I always tried to because I love to be active, but just due to life in itself, I didn't maintain my weight.
So that happened to me too. I obviously went through the surgery that I always tell you guys about, right? And that helped. But the last X amount of years, I've been working at a job where you don't move very much. So one of the things that I try to do is I try to get up every single hour on the hour. And if you don't go to the restroom, at least try to get up and stretch, right? I try to walk on my breaks if I can. And it sounds to me like Sherry had the same situation that she was dealing with, but for multiple years.
It just seemed like everything that I did in those years, I just kept gaining weight. Just like it just kept I just kept gaining. I just kept gaining. I'm like, what is happening to me? Well, one, age is happening to me, but there's just so many other things. Two, I had a partial hysterectomy, and I think when I had a partial hysterectomy, it like changed something in my body, and that's when I started gaining weight. And I did that like 16 years ago, and it was very necessary. If anybody's asking, it was very necessary. It was medically necessary. But that changed my body, and I never have been able to figure out my body since then. So fast forward to when I was about 40 years old. I'm 43 right now, almost 44. I just couldn't handle the weight no more. And I hired a coach who was very dedicated to weightlifting and looking good and the aesthetics of stuff. And so I hired her, and she gave me a protocol, and it included lifting weights, walking, or no, it wasn't walking, it was running. And when I hired her, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm paying $200 a month for this lady. And I did everything exactly as she said. And at the end of 3 months, I had lost a total of 7 pounds. And it was, I'm going to be honest, it was agonizing.
So sometimes we do that, right? We'll go and get a personal trainer or we'll pay a personal coach a couple of $100s, right? And we're thinking in our mind that by spending money, right, we're going to get our money's worth. And to be honest with you, to lose 7 pounds after 2 or 3 months is actually a pretty good step in the right direction. But what she just did is described what everybody does when they describe their diet or exercise plan. It's agonizing, it's torturous, right? So that's one of the reasons why when I wanted to share my experience with you guys, I wanted to let you guys know that it's actually fun if you can get kind of addicted to a walking routine. If you can get to the point like I am where, I literally need my walk every day, then all of a sudden it doesn't feel like some agonizing routine. It feels like something that you can easily add upon, and make it even more powerful.
To lose that weight. And she kept saying, don't worry about the scale. The scale doesn't really matter. And I'm like, I have 100 pounds to lose. Well, maybe not quite 100 at that point. But I'm trying to think. I don't know, maybe about 80 at that point. But I was like, I have so much weight to lose, or at least to get back down to what I thought was realistic, but I don't think that's realistic. But she's like, don't worry about the scale. I'm like, there's got to be an easier way. So I never hired her back. 3 months. And then
Isn't that funny? Don't worry about the scale, right? Which is true. You don't want to be stressing on the number, especially if you're gaining muscle and your clothes are fitting loose. But she was worried about the money exiting her pocket for the lady's instruction, right? Don't worry about the scale. We'll work on that later. And she's like, heck no, you're fired. That's funny.
after that, I went through a very stressful time in my life, and I gained probably 25 pounds between 40 and 42 years old. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I've got to lose this weight. So let's see, July of 2022, I had had enough. And I was like, I'm going to figure this out. I'm smart enough to figure this out. People do it all the time. Why can't I lose weight? So I got on Calorie Calculator online and I punched in all of my information. And I found out that at my weight, I'm going to say my weight, I'm kind of embarrassed, at 240 pounds, at my sedentary job, at how much exercise I was getting, this calculator told me in order to lose 2 pounds a week, I could only eat 1,100 calories. At 1 pound a week, I could eat 1,600 calories. And at 0.5 pounds a week, half a pound a week, I could eat 1,800 calories. And I could lose weight. And I could have went really slow. But I was at the point I was like, no way. This will take me forever to get to feel somewhat decent. So, and I couldn't maintain 1,100 calorie diet. It was just not possible. Like, I just felt like I was starving to death.
So I really love how this gal I love how her brain thinks, okay? She does the math. She realizes that through calorie restriction, she can do it at a half a pound a week and it's not too miserable, right? But there was no way she could do 1,100 calories per day. That was just, it was going to be too difficult, right? So her brain starts to immediately think, there's got to be something else that I can do or add to this. So now we're going to hear about this plan that I think is a great plan.
So I went extreme and I just started studying about walking, because I was so frustrated. I couldn't even think about doing anything else. So I went extreme and I punched in the numbers. What would happen if I walked 90 minutes a day I walk at an incline, and I'll go over those numbers, what I did later. But so at this point I figured, so in order to lose 2 pounds, changing to walking 90 minutes a day, it changed my calories to 2,000 calories a day. To lose 1 pound, 2,500, and to lose a half a pound a week was 2,700. So walking at this extent to what I am going to talk about in a minute increased my calories over 1,000 calories a day.
Okay, so for those of you that are actually walking and missed that, what she started doing was she started saying, okay, if I walk 90 minutes a day, it's going to equate to this much caloric burn, which I can then add to my caloric intake so I can actually eat a little bit more and still lose some weight without being totally miserable. And all of a sudden, a light bulb should go off in your venter head. We are on to something. You have just gotten yourself addicted to a daily walk that's anywhere from a half hour to, heck, you're probably up to an hour altogether now each day. By increasing it 1/2 hour more, you're going to be in the same situation that Sherry Lorena is. And we already know she lost 60 pounds this way. So let's see how this light bulb goes off in her head. And now let's see how she puts her plan into action.
I had to pause for a second. My dryer sings to me when it's done drying. And maybe you could hear my dryer that whole time. I don't even think about those little noises. Anyways, so it increased, walking 90 minutes a day increased my calories to be able to lose weight, 1,000 calories a day. So I did. And at 240 pounds, I have a treadmill in my house. I began walking at 2.5 miles an hour at a 5% incline. And I did that. Now, whether I did it pretty much every morning for 90 minutes. And if I wasn't able to wake up that morning to get it in, then I would do 45 minutes in the morning and then 45 minutes at night. But I was strict because I was at the point that I was like, I cannot weigh this much. This is so unhealthy for me. And I walked 90 minutes a day for 5 months straight, like 7 days a week. I did not.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Sherry, thank you so much. You just hit the nail on the head. She did it for 5 months straight, 7 days a week. It's none of this 2 days a week. It's none of this every other day. It's not even 5 days a week. Guys, she made a decision. I'm going to walk every single day. And she did it for 5 months straight. Now, let's say at that point she loses the 60 pounds and let's say she quits walking altogether. If nothing else, her brain now knows a cheat code on life. At any point, she can lose up to 60 pounds just by doing that same plan over and over again. So I want you guys to know that what you guys are doing right now, that you're already into it 50 days like I am. Some of you are into it a little bit further like Lily, right? And GL. When you guys are doing this for months on end, you're no longer that person that just sits behind the desk at work. You're now a walker and you're going to start losing weight like crazy.
Take a break. If I went on a work trip, I walked on the treadmill at the hotel. I never took a day off of walking my 90 minutes. And walking at a slow pace on an incline, I promise you, by the end of that workout, you are going to be dripping in sweat. You do that for 20 minutes and you're not going to be sweating, but at the end of 45 minutes, you might be sweating. But if you do it for 90, I promise you, you're going to be dripping with sweat. And if you're not dripping with sweat, then you're not going fast enough. I kept my heart rate target was 130 to 145 because they say that's the fat burning. That's the fat burning stage. So that's what I did. I walked and I walked and I walked. And so when I'm asked a lot, like, how many calories did you eat? Well, I tracked my calories and I tracked, I do a version of Weight Watchers from years ago and I tracked that, but I wasn't perfect at tracking my calories because I knew I would always have like 100 here or there because I was walking 90 minutes a day. And so that first.
And that's exactly why I've told you guys from day one, you don't have to be the person that's counting the calories on the back of each package. All you need to know is that by walking every single day, you are literally giving yourself the ability to not have to stress about the calories. Just like she's saying, everything that you guys have already done has already made this a reality that's going to happen. So when you think to yourself, when am I going to start losing weight? You are already on the path. The reality is about to happen. If you want to step it up, all you have to do is exactly what Sherry is saying. Just increase an extra 15 minutes here, an extra 20 minutes there. Right now, it's nice out. Ask your spouse if he or she wants to go around the block with you real quick. Go in the backyard and walk back and forth for 15 or 20 minutes. Walk in place in the living room while you watch TV. Go to the secondhand store and get yourself a treadmill. Guys, we can do this, just like Sherry already has.
50 pounds that I lost walking 90 minutes a day. Without the walking, I never would have lost that much weight in that short amount of time. And it wouldn't have happened because I would have binged eat. And so walking was and is essential to my weight loss plan. If without it, I won't lose weight because I can't drop down to 1,100 calories being at 240 pounds. Now that I've lost 60 pounds because your body naturally stops needing so many calories because you don't have that much weight to carry around. Your body naturally doesn't need as many calories as it once did. Now, I'll be honest that I've lost that 60 pounds. And I kind of, after the 6 months, and once I had lost 50 pounds, I felt so much better. And realistically, like walking, I walk a lot faster now. I walk at 3.5, sometimes 4 miles an hour at a 6 to 8% incline. And my goal is to stay within my heart rate. But I don't do it as often because I don't feel like that is sustainable long term. And I want my weight loss to be sustainable long term. So now I've backed off, and I do still do sessions of 90 minutes on my treadmill, and those are usually done on the weekends. But so I do 2 for sure every weekend. I still walk on the treadmill. And now I do 2 sessions of 45 minutes during the week. And I began to add in weightlifting, but not to an extreme, and I just do it at my house. So yeah, that's the exercise that I did to lose 60 pounds. And once I backed off on my walking, that's when my weight loss really started to come to a halt. And I was comfortable. Like, I slowly lost 10 pounds after that, because I still walked sometimes, just not to the extreme.
So what happens is your body starts to weigh less. And as a 170 or 180 pounder, your body is just going to be so much more efficient than it was at 240, just like she's describing. Now, even though she decided to take a little bit of a she took her foot off the gas pedal when it came to walking, she still very much walked. She just added some additional weightlifting stuff around the home. So it's not like she went crazy and got a gym membership with a physical trainer. She didn't go out and buy a dietitian, right? Or a nutritionist or a personal chef. She just basically started giving up a little bit of the walking, not all of it by any means, and added a little bit of weight training. So she probably has some little weights that she lifts in front of the television, right? And it works for her. She doesn't seem miserable by any means. And let's see what she has to say here to finish this off.
Because I felt so much better at the weight that I was at. But now I'm back to wanting to lose weight again. And so, but I'm not going at it extreme, but I am still going to do 2 90-minute sessions on the weekends and my 45-minute sessions twice during the week. So this is what I did to lose weight, and it worked fantastic. So I'm really hoping that it works for me. And I guess you guys will see, because I'm kind of documenting my journey. So here I am at like 180 pounds, and I'm hoping that I can lose weight. And I'm eating a lot less calories now because I do track, and I am not walking as much, and I'm still at a very sedentary job. So yeah, I hope this helps you guys. I would like it and love it if you would subscribe to my channel and like this video and leave a comment. Let me know how much you guys are trying to lose, or if you're trying to lose, or if you are in a maintenance phase, which is such a great feeling. I hope you.
So once again, I will link her channel in the description. I think she's doing an awesome job. Notice that she's not 240 taking on this challenge again. She's 180. What that tells me is that her weight was slowly starting to crawl up. And now, instead of waiting till she's large, she's trying to catch herself while she's in her medium-sized stage, right? And hopefully the goal this time is to get down to the smaller size. She probably wants to get down to 140 or 150, maybe even a little less, who knows? But the main thing is you got to think just like she did. The more I walk, the more I'll be able to lose, right? And you can add walking immediately, or at least a couple more minutes of it, I'm sure. So with that being said, I want you to write in the comments how much more walking you're going to be committed to over the next month and a half. And speaking of committed to walking, go grab your shoes. Let's go for a walk.
All right, Jesse. It looks like it's just you by yourself today. It's a beautiful Sunday. And here's my question to you. What do you do if you start YouTube on fire and you have a ton of subscribers right off the bat, and they slowly but surely lose interest, and what you once thought might have been an army is now just a straggler here and there? It's just you and Elaine, maybe Lily and Mala, right? What do you do in that scenario, Jesse? Do you give up? Do you call it quits? No, we don't. I think that's where you have to fall back on your initial thought, Jesse, and your initial thought was there might be a situation where you're the only guy walking completely by yourself for a year. Now, the truth is, you've got 40 days left on a 90-day challenge, and the overall determinant on if your channel is successful or not is not necessarily how many subscribers you have or how many people you have out walking with you on the daily, although those things are wonderful. The ultimate measure of success is how much weight do you lose using your method over the course of 90 days? Because if people see that over the course of 90 days you only lose 5 or 6 pounds, that's not going to be enough to draw in the masses. You might get an occasional person that decides to walk, but they're not necessarily going to be convinced that your way is the best. So, what you have to do is go back to square one and just assume you're the only guy out here walking. What makes walking doable for you? Well, what makes walking doable for me is I've always been alone when I walk. I've never been in a situation where people are out and about walking and they want to walk with me. So the reality is, this is no different than when you tell your listeners that sometimes they're going to have a walking partner, and sometimes that walking partner or exercise partner or gym buddy, sometimes they're not going to be there. Sometimes they are going to quit. So if everybody in the world quits, are you going to quit your walk? Well, the simple answer is absolutely not. Just because you're the only person that believes in something doesn't mean that it's not worth believing in, you know? So what I do on days where I feel all alone is the same thing I do on days where I feel like I've got a million friends. I walk. Because the truth is, you have to be your own best friend sometimes. Sometimes you have to tell yourself, you know what? It's not about how many subscribers you have on YouTube. It's not about how many people you have listening to your voice while they're walking. It's about trying to live the best life that you can. And sometimes you have to sell yourself. You know? In case you guys are tuning in, this is my first video that I'm doing to myself, or where I'm talking to myself, and I'm doing it specifically for me because this is a point where a lot of YouTubers probably call it quits. You know, I went from just a couple of days ago having 70 or 80 people per hour watching some of my videos to now, over the past week or so, I've had it where it's slowly dwindled down to the point where today, the video I just put up an hour ago only has like 1 or 2 views. So what's that mean? Well, it means that people aren't necessarily waiting for the second when your video comes out to watch it, which that's no big deal. But it also could mean that that maybe your channel's kind of come down to earth. Maybe you've lost a little momentum. Maybe you haven't evolved to take your channel a little bit further yet. But at the same time, maybe, just maybe, sometimes we need to be slapped with a dose of reality and brought down to the real world. And the real world is such that not every video is popular. Not every channel that starts off with a bang ends up being some rich, successful channel. But our real health, in my opinion, is our wealth. So Jesse, once again, the question is, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about the idea that your YouTube channel is shrinking and dwindling? Well, I think I'm going to do what I always do. I'm going to ponder it on a walk. I'm going to be proactive. I've already set up some measures that I'm doing for my own personal health to get my weight down to where I need it to be. I'm eating better than I have in a long, long time. I'm walking more than I have. I'm drinking pretty much nothing but water. So I'm totally bought in to the plan. And this plan has worked for me twice before. And I know the ultimate way to sell this plan and idea to everybody is just to hit your goal. So guys, whether everybody's watching me or whether none of you are watching, what it all boils down to is I'm 40 days away from being about 155 pounds. So we're going to have this happen whether people want it to happen for me or not. We already know the future. And that's the thing ultimately that I want to teach a bunch of people around not only the country but the world. And that is, guys, this plan is the plan. This is the premier way of hitting your goal in 90 days. So I know that a lot of times we talk about every subject under the sun, but the reality is everybody's here to see one thing, Jesse. How much weight can you lose? Is your plan really destined to work from day 45 or 60 on? Because if that's the case, we are there, right? You can't tell people that your plan works at a certain point in time, and then that point in time comes and all of a sudden we find out, oh, he exaggerated. Ooh, it doesn't work. Ooh, it's bound to fail. No, I know for a fact that it does work. So what we're going to do is we're going to be okay if nothing happens with the channel. We're going to be okay if our videos go back to, instead of getting triple digits, double digits, right? And we're going to be okay with these things. We made ourselves a plan that we were going to walk by ourselves for up to a whole year in the quest to just get 12 subscribers. We smashed through that plan in a couple of days. So now, the thing is just like we want people to hold on strong and wait till that day 45 and 60 when their numbers start to tip in their favor, we got to keep that same train of thought for our YouTube channel. Not everybody wants to be walking every day, and just because people say they want to walk every day with you and resolve to walk every day with you, it doesn't mean that everybody's going to keep up with that promise. And if they're breaking a promise, Jesse, they're not breaking a promise to you. They're breaking a promise to themselves. So sometimes you just have to say, you know what? It is what it is. The reason you wanted to do a YouTube channel walking is simply because you walk every day regardless. So really, what are we doing here, Jesse? We're taking our normal walk that we normally would anyway, but we're talking to ourselves. And maybe there's something relaxing about that, you know? Not everybody is going to make you their favorite YouTuber. Sometimes, just like you, Jesse, sometimes you watch a new YouTuber, you really like what they have to say, you hit subscribe, and then a couple of days later you realize that they're okay. You don't necessarily need to watch them all the time, right? Well, that's what people are doing with your YouTube channel. You know? Maybe you're experimenting too much. Maybe you're putting music on some of your channel and not putting music on other videos on your channel, and maybe the up and downs and slight changes are annoying to people. But you want to know something? It's not really about the video editing. And it's not really about how many people thumbs up a video, because that's a great way to make yourself feel great one day and not so great the next. The key is the challenge itself, Jesse. So let's pretend like there is no Elaine, and there is no Mala, and there is no Sherry, Ann, and Sheila, and Lily. Let's pretend like what we were going to be doing the first year anyway. Let's pretend like it's just you by yourself. Because the reality is, there are people out here that are just watching to see if you'll succeed or if you'll crash and burn. And both things are fun, right? If you see people crash and burn, it can be a little fun, like, aha, I knew that guy's plan would suck, wouldn't work, right? And then if you do succeed, people can be like, hey, congratulations, you lost 30 pounds, I'm on to the next channel, right? So damned if you do, damned if you don't. The main thing is you're hoping ultimately to change the lives of somebody who's just at wit's end. Somebody that, really wants to change their life. Just like the video the other day with Vic. Jesse, sometimes the real goal in life is to find people like Vic and see if you can change their lives, So that's the new goal that I'm setting for myself. My goal is to help people lose weight. I know a great way to help them lose weight in 90 days. It involves them taking on a walking routine. It involves them ditching the Coca-Cola for water. And it involves them ditching out the donuts for things like bananas and strawberries and fruit, right? But sometimes there's going to be days, weeks, maybe even months, especially as we get in the hotter months of the summer, where maybe nobody wants to watch your channel. It can be a little sad and disheartening, or we can go back to our original plan, which is what I think I'm going to do. Let's pretend like the walk is just you by yourself. What would you do if you were the last guy on earth every time you took a walk? Well, you want to know something? We always tell our viewers that a lot of times they are the only person out here. And a lot of times we believed that very first week that no one would be watching. So what would we do in a situation where we were on day 50, like today, hey, day 50, and all of a sudden you found out that it was a lot more like day number 1 than you anticipated? What do you mean, Jesse? Well, what I mean is, when you wake up and all of a sudden, instead of 30 videos an hour or 70 videos an hour, all of a sudden your team combined is watching 0 of your videos, then sometimes you just have to realize you're not that hot stuff that you thought you were. And that's okay. Again, I think when people start a YouTube video, a lot of times they do quit because maybe they were a couple days away from getting that first really significant subscriber. And that's really what it's all about. You're hoping to change somebody's life. That's a crazy question to ask myself. Jesse, what do you prefer? The idea of becoming a successful YouTuber with hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of fans, right, watching you and taking on walking challenges with you? Or is your ultimate goal to help somebody change their individual life, to help somebody go from a 250-pound person to maybe a 180-pound person? What is the goal? What's more satisfying? Well, I think if I were being honest with myself, I think the goal should be what I initially thought it should be, which is show people how I lose 30 pounds and show them that my way is superior. It's interesting, if you watch Walk Talk Vent, it's real easy to just assume that it's a show that goes over the various diet routines and struggles that people are going through, which is true. But it wasn't really meant to be that at first. At first, it was just going to be me walking with my camera. And for some reason, I thought it would be fun to put little reactions of different other YouTubers that are trying to lose weight and stuff. And maybe there are some people that tune in for that. And we know there are some people that tune in for the walk. But let's not forget, people want to see explosive results. And so far, we haven't had those explosive results to show. Yeah, but I knew that we weren't going to have those explosive results for a month or two. Well, that's the great exciting part, Jesse. Now we're getting up to the point where we're heading into month number 3, which means we should start to have some really explosive growth. And if you do have some explosive growth towards getting towards your goal, people will turn in like crazy. So Jesse, that's the challenge I have for you. Are you full of it? Or are you really getting ready to shrink and lose weight like crazy? I'm ready to lose weight like crazy. I'm ready to shrink. I'm doing all the things necessary to make this successful. Therefore, it will be successful. So I just want to let you guys know that if you've stayed with me this far, you're going to start experiencing some amazing things. And if you're brand new and tuning in, tune in every couple of days, because you're going to see me over the next 30 days or so shrink like you've never seen a person shrink before. So that's my challenge to you. If you're a new viewer, take a look at what I do over the next 30 to 40 days, which is going to go by like that, because you're going to see me go from this 178-pound situation all the way down to 155. So if you want to see that, if you want to place bets in the comments, right? Jesse, I don't think you're going to make it. Oh, you're 178. I bet you a month from now you'll be 170. Mark down what you think I'll be weighing, and then marvel as I bust through that. Because one thing that's happening for sure, I know how to read the tea leaves a little bit better than a person that's never been through this challenge before. And there's only one thing that happens when you stop eating sugar. Your fat starts to dwindle. You start to shrink. And when you guys see how much I shrink over the next month and a half, you guys will start watching like crazy. You'll start subscribing like mad. And then we're going to repeat the process. We're going to do it again, and we're going to take a bunch of people with us. So it's okay if people are losing interest. It's okay if people are deciding to move on to other YouTube channels. It's okay if they've decided that your plan is hokey, because it's okay for people to be wrong. Sometimes people need a change of heart. And there are people that have probably been watching from day one because they know that walking is for the birds. But they're wrong. So our job is to prove them wrong. Well, how do we do that, Jesse? Sticking to the game plan. We can't tell everybody around the country and world that our game plan is one where they have to be patient and they have to see it through, and then we quit ourselves. Well, quitting's not an option, guys. Quitting is not an option. And it's just like I told you guys. What happens if you go to the doctor on day 90 or day 100 and you realize that you haven't lost a single pound? Well, your doctor's still going to be able to tell by his lab tests that something magical is happening to your body. What do you mean? Well, your cholesterol is going to be down. How do you know that? Well, when you're eating oatmeal, drinking water, avoiding sugar, and walking like crazy, there's only one thing to happen to your cholesterol. It's got to start going down. Your weight, it's a different weight than it was. What do you mean? Well, 90 days ago, your weight was really a lot of flabby puffiness. You don't feel the flabby puffiness anymore. So you know that your muscle to fat ratios are different. What's the big deal about muscle? Well, muscle weighs more than fat. And that's why a lot of times you might lose inches before you lose any weight on the scale. And when we do lose weight, we're not going to lose muscle, we're going to lose fat. Muscle is a lot more efficient than fat. You burn muscle, you burn calories more when you have a higher level of muscle in you than fat. So, what's that mean? It means for the first month or two, you might be gaining a lot of muscle, especially if you're doing push-ups and sit-ups and working out occasionally, which I'm doing. So again, I know magic happens this third month, and I want to show you guys the magic. I'm the original guinea pig, and that's okay. If you've been walking every day with me like Elaine, like Lily, like all the others, you're going to notice some magic happening here over the next month or so. The main thing is that month or so might not happen for a couple more days. So when you look at yourself on the scale, just know this is where you have to throw in the mental toughness aspect. You have to be willing to see a scale that's not changing for a while. The best way you can show people that, Jesse, is to do it yourself. You know, if I would have jumped on the scale and just started losing 1.5 pounds a day, I think it would be real easy for people to say, wow, this plan works, you know? But the reality is, I've known from day one that it's not really the type of plan that works the first month or so. So even though this last 50 days has gone by awfully quick, it's not a 50-day challenge. It's a 90-day challenge. And it's a body-changing transformation situation where as your body starts to change, the weight starts to fly off even faster. So Jesse, here's my challenge to you. What are you going to do a week from now when your videos and stuff are even lesser than they are now? Why would that happen? Well, because a week from now, it's going to be even warmer around the country than it is now. And as we progress further and further along in the year, guess what? It's going to get hotter and hotter. There's going to be a million reasons for people to ditch out on their walk, for people to ditch out on your channel. This is where you have to rely on the results. Is your plan worth it, or is your plan just another plan that doesn't work for people? Well, let's prove people that it does work. We're the guinea pig. What better guinea pig than somebody that's gone through it twice before with success both times? We're not teaching people how to lose 4 or 5 pounds. We're teaching people how to take a significant chunk of weight off of their butt over the course of 3 months. So let's stay strong. Now, in case you're watching wondering why I'm talking to myself, I basically have had a situation the last couple days where my videos have just basically been disappearing. And what I mean by disappearing is they're very much there and you can very much click on them every day and watch them like many of you do, but they're not necessarily getting traction. They're shrinking. The audience is getting bored. Sometimes they look for a YouTuber to evolve, and I might be plateauing. I might not be evolving at all. But that's where I have to tell myself that my job for the first 90 days isn't necessarily to become the best video editor. It's not necessarily to become the most prolific YouTuber. The goal over 90 days is to be a guinea pig for my weight loss system. And my weight loss system is the easiest way in the world to lose 30 pounds. But I can't let outside forces like who's watching me lose 30 pounds affect me. And you at home shouldn't allow things like that to affect you either. If you tell people my goal is to lose 20 pounds or 30 pounds over the next 3 months, you know, when you tell people that, there's people that are going to inevitably wait for you to fail. Use that as motivation. You're not going to fail. You have to trust me. When you walk, the scale will seem like your enemy. But even when you lose weight, the scale is not your friend. It's an inanimate object, and all it does is weigh people, okay? It might tell you your BMI, it might tell you, your fat versus muscle content, the whole 9 yards. But it's still just an object that you stand on to get an idea of how heavy or how light you are. And the reality is, many times that scale is going to come across as your enemy. But it's not your enemy. It's just a way. It's just a way for you to measure where you are in your journey. And Jesse, you have an advantage. Even on day 50, if the number is not exactly where you want it to be, you got to remember that your body is not some sort of calculator that knows that you're in a challenge. Your body is not some sort of calculator that knows what day of the challenge you're on. Your body does not realize that it's on some sort of artificial deadline to change. Your body's doing what it's always going to do. It's always going to take whatever energy's in it, and it's going to move its legs for you, right? So what you do, Jesse, is what you've been doing. You pull out your 50-pound camera, you hope that people hit that subscribe button and hit that like button and share this, right? You hope people tell their mom and dad, their sons and daughters about it. You hope people reach out to their best friend across the state line and tell them, hey, turn on Walk Talk Vent. But in the meantime, there's only one way to guarantee that's going to happen, and that's by keeping the course. Jesse, you have an advantage over other people. You've gone through this journey before, not once, but twice. And you know as well as I do that a lot of times, just by cutting out the sugar, you're going to drop weight like crazy. So everything else you do, like the occasional push-ups, like the walking, drinking water, not engorging on food when you're not hungry, but just eating because you're bored, those are things that are going to add to you not eating sugar. And even if your subscribers and fellow walkers doubt you, they're not going to doubt you for very long, because you're going to start seeing some amazing stuff happen from your boy. So that's where we stand right now, guys. Sometimes Jesse's not the most confident guy in the world. Sometimes I got to give myself a pep talk. Sometimes I have to realize that, I'm not one of my favorite YouTubers. I'm just a new YouTuber trying to be successful. And the way I'm successful is clear cut. Lose the weight. Show people that it can be done. Don't do anything magical off the camera that you don't talk about on the camera. Because wouldn't that be crazy? If I ended up losing weight, but I did something extreme that I wasn't even sharing on the camera, there's probably a lot of people that do that. It would be easy to take on the egg challenge to move my body, 5 or 10 pounds lower real quick. I don't want to take on the egg challenge. Is it okay if my listeners and viewers take on the egg challenge or the bacon challenge or the lemon challenge? Sure, if that's something that you want to try. But at the same time, if I'm telling people that I have the actual plan, the actual cure for them to get rid of 30 pounds in a quick amount of time, then I have to actually believe in it myself. And it's really weird when you believe in something and you still doubt yourself, But at the same time, that's what human nature is. We always wonder if now is the time when it won't work for us, right? So maybe you're having a day like me. Maybe you've been doing this walking thing for 50 straight days, and that darn scale still isn't on our side. Maybe you've ditched sugar for the last month and a half, and maybe it's still not showing up on that scale. Maybe in addition to walking, maybe you've been walking at your lunch break at work, and it's still not showing up on that scale. Is it ever going to show up on the scale, Jesse? It is. It is. But you got to remember, your body is your uniform, and it doesn't necessarily know that it's taking on a challenge. And that's where you got to be brain strong. That's where you got to be headstrong. That's where you have to tell yourself, you know what? The scale is not my friend, but it's also not my enemy. It's an inanimate object that tells me where I am on the journey, okay? Guys, for some reason, we as human beings tell ourselves, I'm not on pace, I'm behind the 8 ball, I'm not hitting my goals, right? That doesn't mean that we change everything and try to hit our goals. It means that we take it another notch up. That's all it means, okay? And trust me, once you start losing pounds, you're gonna actually have to backtrack it in some cases, because not everybody wants to lose 30 or 40 or 50 pounds. Sometimes you just wanna lose 15 or 20. So it's interesting, right now we feel like the scale's not on our side. In another month or so, we're gonna feel like the scale is getting scarily, like we're losing a little too much weight, okay? So it's a fine line where one day you can feel like you're failing, and the next day you can feel like you're taking things too far. So just know, it's okay if you feel like Jesse every now and then. It's okay if you feel like the world's falling apart, because more than likely it's not falling apart. And more than likely my channel isn't gonna be for everybody. And heck, I might even be showing other journeys that people on my channel decide I'd rather join that journey, right? If that's the case, God bless them. We want people to be successful in their weight loss journey. And if that's with us, wonderful. If that's with another YouTuber or another diet or exercise person, that's just as wonderful, okay? Not everything is gonna go our way in life, Jesse, but that doesn't mean that we give up. Keep strong to your goal. Even if it's only you walking by yourself, that's okay, because we've grown to like ourselves over the years, and there's nothing wrong with us. So the main thing is stay positive. Even I have doubts from time to time, but I know where this journey leads. It's gonna lead to you losing a lot of weight. It's gonna lead to me losing a lot of weight. I can do this, you can do this, we can do this. Let's do this. Have a wonderful day.